if you want to be a guy on the ground, kicking indoors, clearing rooms, blowing stuff up, the officer route is not for you, because you will not do that very often as a guy on the team. And then even with that, your time on the team is very limited. Now, there are some pros of going officer. The first one is you have a lot more decision-making power. You are the one that pitches your team for different mission sets, drives the operations. You have a lot of decision-making power, and with that comes a lot of leadership development, which is going to serve you well once you get outside the military. Welcome to the Infinite Grit Podcast. This is the show for those preparing to earn their place in special operations and other elite tactical careers. We break down the training, mindset, and strategies required to get selected and continue performing long term. These are proven principles to help you build the body, the mind, and resilience to step into the fight. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Infinite Grit Podcast. Hope you are doing well, training hard. Today, we are talking about some pros and cons of some different routes. And I'm bringing this up because I have been seeing a common theme in the community over the last couple weeks. We've had multiple guys who had been training for the SF pipeline, interested in transitioning over to the PJ pipeline or the Air Force Special Operations. And then we've had guys training for the PJ pipeline or CCT who are now interested in going SF or Ranger. So today I want to talk about the differences and provide some information so that you guys can make maybe a more informed decision, because at the end of the day, that is my job. And there is no right or wrong answer for this. Well, let me change that. The only wrong answer in these situations is choosing a job that you don't genuinely want to do. Choosing a job that maybe a recruiter talked you into, maybe some guy on the internet talked you into, or a friend talked you into doing. The worst thing that you can do is just do something because you don't have a direction or something, the information to make an intelligent or an informed decision. Instead, I want you guys to research the actual jobs. Research what the pipelines look like, research what you're going to be doing, your job responsibilities, your skill sets, and pick the one that resonates most with you. And that is going to enable you to get into the environment and continue to perform long-term and obviously have a long and successful career. So first off, what are the differences, particularly between going 18 Delta or Special Forces Medic or pursuing the PJ route? And I'm picking Special Forces Medic because they're pretty much trained the same in regards to their medical capabilities as a pararescueman. So we'll dive into the Green Beret side. As a Green Beret 18 Delta, you are going to be a fully qualified paramedic. So at the start of SOCM, which is the Special Operations Combat Medicine, you will go through EMTB, or like just get your regular EMT cert at the very beginning of the course. Then you'll do all of your trauma medicine, prolonged field care, get some rotations in. And at the end of the course, you actually have to test out with your EMTP, which is your paramedic certification. Now, the role of a Green Beret or an 18 Delta on the team is obviously to provide medical support for the team in part of or in support of a larger operation, whether that's on conventional warfare, whether that's counterinsurgency, foreign internal defense. You are likely going to be in an environment where your team is separated from the flagpole, so to say. So it's separated from the main element. You guys are on your own and you are the medical support for that element. Now, the pros of going SF, in my opinion, is you learn a wide range of different skill sets. You're not just a medic, you're a shooter, you're a facilitator as part of the larger operation, especially in an unconventional warfare setting. And you have to learn many different skill sets to include language, to include jumping, to include all of these other things. Now, the major differences, I guess the cons of that would be, as a Green Beret, wearing all of these different hats can kind of water down your skill sets in these things. We do a lot of different things. You're going on a lot of different missions. You're training for different environments all the time. And by nature of doing that, it is very challenging to stay proficient in everything all at once. The pros of going Green Beret is you do get to be part of that larger operation. You're close and embedded. You're part of a very close-knit team that everyone has their roles, their unique roles, and they're working towards a common goal. Now, on the PJ side, it's very similar in regard to the medical training they're getting, but they are more narrowly focused. They're pararescue men. They are very, very fantastic medics. We had some attached to our team in Afghanistan. I've worked with them out at Nellis Air Force Base. They're really good, highly trained individuals that bring a lot of different skill sets to the team. But they are going to be more narrowly focused. They are primarily focused on infill platforms and actually getting guys out of there and providing a high level of medical care. But as a PJ, you're most likely, or most of the time, unless you're on like search and rescue operations where you fly around in the helicopters and insert and do things, you are not going to be the main element that is part of a larger scale operation like an unconventional warfare campaign. It's very unlikely that you are going to be just a PJ team, assigned to a cop in Northeast Afghanistan by your guys' self to train and support other elements. It will never happen. What happens most often is PJs will get attached to different elements, such as a Green Beret team or a Special Forces team, such as a Navy SEAL team, or even a Delta Force team if you make it into, the support element within the pararescue community. So you are highly trained. You get all of the different schools. So you're going to have dive, you're going to have free fall, you're going to have all of the different infill platforms because that is required to be a part of all of these different teams because you never know how you're going to infill into it. But you're not part of the main element that is supporting that mission or that is completing that overarching mission. You are there to augment them in a medical capacity. There's nothing wrong with it. Like I said, fantastic guys, worked with them quite a bit. And, I was always thankful to have a PJ with us on operations, but it really just depends on what you want to do. Are you more interested in the kind of strategic side of things? Do you want to learn a language? Do you want to work with a foreign nation's military and train with them and be a force multiplier? Or do you want to get highly specialized, get really, really proficient at different skill sets and be attached to other teams or elements to take part in these operations and augment them in a medical capacity? There's no wrong answer. That's a hard question to answer. But for me, I always looked up to Green Berets. I was kind of biased, obviously, with my stepdad being a Green Beret growing up, planting the seed. And I wanted to be the guy that learned the language. I wanted to handle sources. I wanted to play the intelligence game, which is another aspect to being a Green Beret. You're not just kicking in doors and conducting these operations. You might go to a country and your job is to get information off of individuals or run, kind of take a more intelligence role in these types of environments. As a PJ, you won't be doing that. You'll be specialized to provide medicine, jump out of planes, get really freaking good with ropes, do all of that and be more combat focused. So it really just depends on what you want your career to look like. But I wanted to provide a little bit of insight into what that looks like. And for me, I had always been, I wanted to do the combat side of things. Obviously, when I was in Afghanistan was kicking off, we supported a lot of fifth group teams like I talked about in Iraq, and I wanted to be the guy on the ground, but I also loved the language aspect of it. I loved the intelligence aspect of it. I loved all of the other skill sets that Green Berets develop outside of that. And for that reason, I wanted to pursue that route instead of going something that's going to be a little bit more direct action focused or a little bit more augmentation focused to support those guys. I wanted to be the main element in those more large scale operations. Now I would say we would always joke about it inside of Special Forces that anytime someone said they wanted to go Air Force Special Operations or PJ, we're like, man, you're a smart one. Like the smart guys go Air Force. And it is true to an extent because they have a lot more money. They have a lot more funding, and they have less people, which means you are going to get some of the best gear. You're going to get some of the best training opportunities, pretty much unlimited ammo. Like, you guys get a lot more than maybe an SF team will get. Sometimes on the SF side, especially in a peacetime environment, it can be hard to get those training opportunities or get the funds to do the things that your team wants to do. So as a pro of going PJ, con of going PJ is you're not the main element in those more large scale operations, and you're narrowly focused. You're not going to be doing the intelligence gathering or those other skill sets outside of it. So I hope that helps. If you guys have any questions that need some clarification down below, please let me know. But like I said, nothing but respect for any of the pipelines you want to go to. And at the end of the day, anybody that serves in general, and especially in special operations, I have a lot of respect for. So whether you're going PJ or SF, I won't hold it against you. Next question is, what are the pros and cons of going officer versus enlisted? This is another one we see quite often, enlisted SF or special forces. And there are some definite cons of going officer. So I'll dive into those. It's not that bad. I just give officers a hard time all the time in the military. But if you go officer, you cannot join the military and go directly special forces. The way it works is you have to commission with another specialty, whether that's infantry. I've had one of the best officers I worked with came from not supply, but quartermaster or something like that. They're the different branch within the officer corps. And it doesn't matter what you do. You have to serve in that role for the first couple of years until you are a senior first lieutenant or junior captain. And that's usually when what's called your year group opens up, and you have a window in which you can apply for and go to Special Forces assessment and selection. The Special Forces selection pipeline is the same. You're going to be doing the same things. However, it's going to be obviously a little bit more focused on the leadership components. How do you communicate? You're going to have to do some interviews, and they're going to be a little bit more selective on the officer side with that. So that is con in the sense of you're going to have to spend some time in the regular Army prior to going Special Forces. Now, you're an officer, so your quality of life is going to be a little bit higher than your average E3 that goes enlisted in infantry, but you will have to spend some time outside that environment before you go to Special Forces. Then you go through selection, go through the pipeline, which is very similar to all of the other MOSs, aside from the MOS phase, which is a lot more focused on key leader engagement, KLEs, and leadership thing, obviously those types of things. And then once you get to a team, a huge con of going officer is you pretty much have 2 years on the team max. It varies. I've seen officers with as little as 18 months. I've seen officers with as much as 2.5 years on a team. But I've never seen an officer go longer than that on the team. And what happens after your team time is you pretty much go to the basement, or you can volunteer to go to JEGBER teams, which is a whole nother conversation. But most of the time you go down to the basement, work in what is called an S shop, and you're essentially doing paperwork to facilitate the missions, facilitate the operations going on that the teams are conducting. And over the years, if you stay in that environment, you can work your way up to the point where you get major, and you can potentially take a company, and that's when you can go back to more of the operational environment. But pretty much after that first 2 years of being on a team, you are no longer a team guy. You are, more of a strategic planner, supporting operations, driving the logistics or the white side support of these different things. You're not going to be the team guy doing the team guy things. Also, when you are on a team as an officer, you are not going to be the one, kicking in doors and doing those types of things. How it usually works is you're going to break up into different cells, and your cells or your different elements are going to push forward and conduct their thing. They're going to go clear the villages. They're going to go clear the buildings, take down targets, etc. And usually the officer will be in the back, and he is the battlefield commander, taking the information from the different elements, passing it up to higher. So if you want to be a guy on the ground, kicking in doors, clearing rooms, blowing stuff up, the officer route is not for you, because you will not do that very often as a guy on the team. And then even with that, your time on the team is very limited. Now, there are some pros of going officer. The first one is you have a lot more decision-making power. You are the one that drives the operations in the teams, and you are the one that, pitches your team for different mission sets. You are the one that figures out with your team sergeant how it's going to be operated, figuring out all of the logistics, all of that stuff. So you have a lot of decision-making power, and with that comes a lot of leadership development. So as an officer inside of Special Forces, you can imagine that you are going to need to develop those leadership capabilities, which is going to serve you well once you get outside the military. Most officers that were in SF either pursue an MBA after they get out of the military, or end up, kind of a higher up or in a leadership position inside of some other companies. Whereas a team guy, you get much less of that. Your leadership is unless you're a cell leader or a team sergeant, your leadership is pretty limited. You might, command a cell of 4 or 5 guys, but you're also going to be leading the partner force on operations. So you're much more focused on outside of your organization leadership to drive the operation, not the operation as a whole. So the leadership looks a little bit different there. So I would say that would be the biggest pro of going officer SF. And then obviously, you get additional pays, actually a captain in SF and an enlisted E6 in SF make close to the same amount because the officers don't get a lot of those additional duty pays. But overall, the big pro of it is getting that leadership development, being a more strategic thinker. And then when you do climb the ranks, so to say, inside of group, you are more strategic level focused on driving the large scale operations, whereas a team guy, you're focused on getting your guns ready and doing what you got to do. All right, next question is, what makes a good officer in SF? So I'm going to base this off of the couple different team leaders we had during my time. And we had a team leader who objectively had a pretty rough time. And then after he left, we had a team leader that absolutely crushed it. He was the best team leader I ever worked with. Really cool guy. So the guy that didn't do very well was very timid. He was almost manipulative, and he was a people pleaser for the higher ups above him. As a good team leader, you should be kind of that top-down cover. You need to pitch the team, and you need to play the political game so that your team can get the operations and the missions that's going to enable the guys to do the things that are cool and actually have operations that matter. But you cannot just be a people pleaser and throw your team under the bus to volunteer for things or provide support for different things that pop up, because there's going to be a lot of BS in Special Forces that, is politically driven, or they just need a team to support it. And if you're the team that always supports, throws your team under the bus, has your guys doing the detail while you sit in the office, that looks very bad, and is a good way to diminish your trust within the team and make guys simply not like you. Now, the officer that came in, the first thing he did that really struck me is he took an approach of really caring about the guys. I remember he came in, and the team leader before, when I came to the team, never sat me down. I never had a conversation with the guy one-on-one ever. Didn't give a shit about me, to be honest. When this new team leader came in, first thing he did is he had one-on-ones with everyone on the team, got to know us, asked questions about the team culture, asked questions about what he could do, how he can integrate into the team. And it was a good way to build that rapport right off the bat. And it really showed that he cared about the guys on his team. So the best thing you can do as an officer in group or a leader in general is genuinely care about the guys that you are leading. That is going to go a long way. And Green Berets in this environment, they're self-starters. They want to work. They want to do a good job. They want to complete the mission. And if you are somebody who has that rapport built and you show that you care about them, they're going to want to do the mission for you as well and do the things that enables you to be successful, which helps the team to be successful. So number one is care about your guys. The number two thing that he did really, really well is he provided that top-down cover to where he would get us out of, essentially, or basically say no to certain things that we didn't need to do, or not volunteer us for things all the time. But he also played the political game very well, in the sense of pitching our team for different operations. I remember we were having trouble getting a mission set. There was things going on, and he went to bat for us constantly, and essentially got us a mission that he could have just sat back and we might have ended up on rear D or doing some other type of tasking that had nothing to do with an actual operation or mission. So he really went to bat for us, got the mission, and that stuff goes a long way with making the guys want to help out and want to serve you. So number one is to really care about the guys. Number two is to play the political game with hire, really fight for your team, pitch your team, to get those awesome mission sets. And number three is just be competent with your job. He was a very good communicator. You're going to be talking on the radio. You're going to be managing different things, talking to hire, managing, aircraft in the sky, talking to the guys, the elements on the ground. And the better you can communicate and manage all of that, the better you are going to be perceived as a competent team leader. So competence, caring, and going to bat for your team and driving those mission sets. Our next question is, why did you want to be an engineer on a team, and what are some things you took away from that MOS that you still carry to this day? I wanted to be an engineer for a couple of reasons. I've shared this in the past, but when I first joined the military at 18, I failed EOD school. So being an engineer, obviously the explosives standpoint of it is a big portion of the job. So I kind of wanted to redeem myself with that. That was a component of it, but also kind of like what I shared in that podcast previously about my trip to Iraq. When I went to Iraq, I had to be kind of the guy that just figures things out, working around the camp, getting things set up, blah, blah, blah. And during this time, I mentioned in the previous one that there was a fifth group team that was guarding an oil refinery and getting hit quite often. And they had an 18 Charlie that was essentially on the B team and the support element around the camp. And him and I worked on a couple of different projects together. I started asking him questions. And that experience of being the guy that runs around, makes connections, gets the parts or sources the materials, brings things together, and keeps the operation running was a very fulfilling role for me, because you're always doing something and you can see the tangible result of the things that you are doing and enabling others to be successful or the operation to drive forward. And that is exactly what an 18 Charlie does. An 18 Charlie is not just a guy that does the explosives on the team or is just a breacher. The 18 Charlie is oftentimes a driving force to maintaining a camp and ensuring everything takes place. All of the logistics are in place. He is a huge component to the team being able to operate in general and the team being successful. Obviously, everyone has their unique roles, but the 18 Charlie is usually the hardest working one on the team, and they're developing the relationships with the people in the area. They're sourcing the materials. They're, handling contractors. They're doing all of these different things in addition to their normal duties of prepping for the mission, getting everyone squared away on, breaching, explosives, all that type of stuff. So you are very busy. And for me, I wanted to be in a role where I learned those skill sets, and I got to deploy them inside of an operational environment. For me, that was Afghanistan. I was a junior guy, and when I went to the team, I was essentially trying out for the team. So I just tried to do Charlie shit as much as possible, moving connexes around. When guys were getting ready or whatever, I was always out there trying to do something, make the camp better, play camp commandant or help out our actual camp commandant and provide that support. So to me, that was a very fulfilling role. And it's one of the big reasons why I wanted to go 18 Charlie in general. And the thing that I pulled from it is that resourcefulness and just making things happen. Actually, this is from a check-in that I did yesterday inside of our community. And the thing I told him was, even looking at Infinite Grit now, even looking at the things I'm doing now, if I would have not developed those skill sets throughout my time in the 160th during that Iraq deployment or as an 18 Charlie, I don't think I would be as effective with just figuring things out as I am today. So that is one thing that I really pulled from being an 18 Charlie, and most 18 Charlies do as well. All Green Berets do to an extent, but I think 18 Charlies, because that is a big focus, get that a little bit more. Next question is, what schools would you have to do once you are in the pipeline, like MOS related, 18 Bravo, 18 Charlie, 18 Delta? So the way the Q course works is you all go through the same core courses. So SUT, which is small unit tactics. You're going to go through SEER, which is survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. After that, you'll go and you'll learn your specific MOS or military occupational specialty, whether it's 18 Charlie, 18 Bravo, 18 Delta. So medic, engineer, weapons sergeant, communication sergeant. And then after that, you'll all come back together for what is called Robin Sage, where you do a mock unconventional warfare campaign, and you have to demonstrate your competency with your MOS and your ability to lead operations, train a partner force, all of those types of things. It was actually a really cool experience. I look back on, when you're going through the pipeline, you want it to be over so bad. Like you're just chomping at the bit to get your Green Beret and go to a team. But looking back after all of that experience, like the Robin Sage course that you go to is really freaking cool. And I've never been to a course like that to this day, even in group, that has as much support from the community as that one. Like you have civilians, you're hanging out, moving through farmers' fields. Like it's a huge community operation that takes place that has probably thousands of people that are supporting it. So really, really cool experience looking back on it. So that is the thing you'll do as your specific MOS courses that you go to. You just go to that one 16-week course during the Q course. Once you graduate the Q course, as an 18 Charlie, there's not a whole lot of follow-on courses that are specific to your MOS. You have things like HME or different courses that you can go to specifically for breaching or things like that, but it's very limited in regard to your actual MOS. A lot of times you might go to shooting courses, or I was able to go to a course that taught me austere medicine and how to provide medicine in an environment where you have limited supplies. So you will cross-train quite a bit and go to courses that aren't necessarily related to or directly related to your MOS. All right. And then two more questions. One of them is how to pack a ruck. I actually posted a reel on this, a while back, and I talked about it. And essentially the way I have always packed a ruck and still pack a ruck to this day is I put a lot of the lightweight but bulky material down at the bottom. A sleeping bag is perfect for this. I usually, if I'm bringing extra boots, I'll put an extra boot on either side of it, or I'll put some socks, whatever I'm putting down at the bottom, fill in the gaps down at the bottom. Then I will take my wet weather bag. I will fill that with clothes, whatever I'm bringing out into the field environment, and I will kind of create a shelf. And that is a lightweight shelf at the bottom of the ruck. Then on top of that, I want to get the heavy items nice and close to my shoulder blade, or as close to my shoulder blade as possible, and then stack and fill in the gaps around it to hold everything in place. And what that does is gets that weight nice and up high and close to your shoulder blades. It's funny because when I posted this, it's like one of the few reels I've posted that has gone viral. And one of the reasons it did is because I had so many people commenting, put the weight down low, you got to have it on your hips, blah, blah, blah. And if you are in an environment where you're like a backpacker who's walking a slow pace, primarily going up steep hills, using trekking poles, etc., sure, put the weight in the bottom. There's a lot of people who do that. But for military environments where speed is the goal on these timed rucks, especially going to a course like SFAS or Ranger School or any of these courses, you want that weight up high and close to your shoulder blades as possible, because it's going to keep the pressure and the weight distribution off of your hips. If you're going for time, you're ruck running on these, and your hips get tired, it's going to slow you down. Having it up high will put a little bit more pressure on your traps. So your traps will be screaming a little bit, but your trap screaming are not going to slow you down. So in my experience, I would much rather have the weight up higher and have my shoulders and my traps hurting a little bit more versus having the weight down low, distributed to my my hips, but my hips getting tired, my hip flexors really feeling it, and me slowing down on the ruck. In addition to that, I like to rotate my hip pad. So even with the weight up high, especially out at land nav when you're walking over the varied terrain, sometimes I'll walk with my hip pad on when my shoulders are screaming, but my hips feel fresh. When I start feeling my hips get tired and slow me down a little bit, I'll take the hip pad off and let my shoulders scream a little bit. And by rotating the hip pad, we're rotating where the weight distribution is, and giving our body a little bit of a break during that process. But the goal for these timed rucks is to go fast. So for me, I'd much rather have that weight up high as opposed to on my hips and slowing me down. And then final question this week, leave for prep and selection 18 August, last minute tips. Seems like they're only going to take a small portion of the 18 x-rays. So this individual is at student company and he's started SFPC or the prep course on 18 August. And then he will go to selection immediately after that. So I need to be in the top 50 out of 250. I'm as fit as I'm going to get, but how can I set myself apart from where other guys, other fit guys fall short on PT tests and rucks? So at this point, it's August 2nd. Got about 2 weeks. He's absolutely right. You're pretty much going to be as fit as you possibly are going to be. That means over these next 2 weeks, really prioritize recovery, really make sure that, we're not taking any injuries or imposing any last minute injuries that we bring into this environment. We want to make sure that we're ready to go day one, even for the prep course, because you're going to be doing 2 days and then a gate week at the end of that prep course. You want to be solid for it. So obviously we want to push ourselves hard on those particular events and be in that top 50 portion. But some things that we can do outside of it, number one is be coachable. You have to be coachable in these environments, and Green Berets love people who are coachable. Even me, when I work with clients, you have to be able to implement the information that somebody gives you. If you go into the environment thinking that you know it all or you're set in your ways and someone teaches you something and you're like, I don't need it. I've been doing it this way. That is a red flag for somebody going through this pipeline, because there is a specific way to do things. There's been years and years of trial and error, and just go in there with an open, coachable mind. Don't try to demonstrate everything you know. Don't go into these environments trying to demonstrate that you are a land nav expert, even if you've been an instructor for a land nav for the last 15 years. Go into these environments with an open mind, implement it the way that they teach you to implement it. And then when it comes to test day, if that doesn't work for you and you have a better method, then go with that. But you don't ever want to go into these environments trying to demonstrate to the instructors that you know it all. They want to see guys who are highly coachable. So number one is be coachable. Number two is maintain a good attitude, especially during those team week style events. It is so easy to lose your cool in team week style events. You're tired, you're hungry, you've been walking, the freaking apparatus is falling apart, you got guys bickering, and it's in this sleep deprived state where you're depleted, you're hungry, you just want to be done. It's easy to lose your cool and blow up on a teammate or get snappy or things like that. That's immediate red flag. And the regiment needs guys who are composed under pressure, and they continue to seek a solution, not complain about everything that is going on. So number two would be to keep a level head throughout the entire process. Always search for a solution. Don't be a guy that complains about the circumstances. If you're coachable, you have a good attitude, you put out on the physical events, you support the guys around you, enable others to be successful, then you're going to be putting yourself in a good position to be in that top 50 and earn a spot in selection. So other than that, hope you guys got some value from today's episode. If you did, drop a like down below. And if you want help, preparing for an environment like this, both physically and mentally, we have a link down below to get started with our program and see if we're a good fit for you. Other than that, appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next one.